Good morning, everybody. So, this day we're going to have our new lesson, and it's all about position paper. But before we proceed on the discussion proper, let's have first our objectives, understand the importance of position paper, analyze the elements of position paper, and realize the steps in crafting position paper. So, these are the things that you will expect to transpire during our lesson. So, what is position paper? It is an essay that expresses a position about an issue. It gives arguments that support the opinion of the writer based on the facts collected. Its goal is to convince an audience that the opinion raised underwent thorough investigation and data collection and that is therefore valid. So meaning to say these are some of the ideas wherein the writer has given his or her justification regarding the subject matter. So this is the opinion or the stance of him or her regarding that thing. So this is a paper that gives basic information and states your goals. So it really helps other people understand the ideas. In terms of the elements of the position paper, just like the other form of writing. So it comprises with three elements. The first of which is the introduction. So definitely when we talk about the introduction, this part of the paper identifies an issue that is being discussed by the author, emphasizing his position about the issue. So here, the topic is introduced. Background and history of the issue shall be discussed. So, this is the brief introduction to the topic in general and the statement on your position. So, as you can see, the brief, what you call it, the brief discussion of what the topic is all about. This is the particular overview of what it is all about. Let's say, for example, the Philippines has a history of valuing sports in school, recreational organization, and on professional teams. So as you can see, that is just an introduction I have given based on what the country, the Philippines, is valuing the sports as a recreational thing within the school or recreational organization and so on. Also, we have here the body of the paper. This part illustrates the central argument, which can be presented through a brief description of the argument. Details, point of view, evidences are used to support the claim and can be divided into this section, namely background information, evidence supporting the author's position, and a discussion which addresses and refutes arguments that present both sides of the issue. So usually, it comprises with three or more paragraphs. This is where you present information and give evidence. So these are comprises by your different argumentations or refutation regarding the subject or regarding the issue that you are discussing in your position paper. So this is the main part of your paper. And then the last one, we have here the conclusion. This part restates the main points, then summarizes the arguments made in the paper, and then provides a call of action. So it summarizes what you have already talked about. This may seem like you are repeating information, but it is important to do this in order to make your position clear and to finish strong. So those are the three elements of the position paper. Now let's proceed on how to build a position paper. First of which we have here explore. According to that, we have to read widely about the topic. Yes, it's quite necessary that for us to be able to expound the idea, we have to do a lot of research. It is not enough to rely on your common sense or personal experience. So, in order to succeed in building position, you must read what other people have written about it first. So, just because you disagree, so for example, it doesn't mean that you disagree with the position. Does not mean that you should ridicule, ignore, or demonize that position. It's a matter of giving respect to the idea or to the concept written by other writers. So this is thus the stance of the ignorant. For the educated, an open mind is imperative in order to give way to critical thinking. Then, the next one we have here brainstorm. Always consult someone about your arguments. So, after gathering all the positions and evidences you need, brainstorm could be brainstorm a friend or let's say your group mates or your co-researchers about the ideas you have found. So there is the common adage. It says that two heads are better than one, which is really true, which it comes to the construction of arguments. Because as you can see, you could be able to gather different ideas from different people, from different perspectives. So oftentimes we can be blind to our flaws in reasoning. So it is always better to consult someone about your arguments in order to see their strength and weaknesses clearer. So let's say for example you are writing your research and you are in group. It's quite necessary that it's not only the leader who will give or who will give suggestion regarding the idea or the concept. Everybody should give their own idea or concept that they have formulated in their mind. Next, we have here create assertion. These are opinions that people may or may not agree with. So assertions are opinions that people may or may not agree with. So they are not general truths. Instead, they are positioned on the issue. For example, what it comes to the issue of whether uniform should be required in the school. The assertion is that use of uniforms promotes the ideals of equality in school. So this is the philosophical position that may or may not agree with. Okay, for example, you have your assertions. First, uniforms promote the ideals of equality, or uniforms lessen distraction between the opposite sex. Next, or you could say uniforms unite the student populace in having common purpose and identity. Given these assertions, one can come out with the theme uniform should be required in school because it benefits the greater good in forwarding a common sense of purpose, unity, and equality among students. So that is assertion. We have here gather the evidence. So one must make sure that one's sources are credible. The best sources are it could be bills, laws, and declaration from government. Let, but let's say, for example, um, when you are having this research work, what you need is to have a lot of evidence, sorry. So according to that, assertions are only as good as the quality of one's evidence. So meaning to say, after writing one's assertion, one must gather the evidence to prove each point. Although one already went through preliminary data gathering in the beginning, it is imperative to make sure that each assertion has strong and compelling evidence because that is how your position could be able to stand strongly. So evidence can be any of the following. It could be facts, statistics, interviews with experts, or it could be perceived philosophical or social or political or psychological truths. So those are the things that you have to consider in gathering the evidence. Next, how credible resources. So make sure the one sources are credible. It's quite necessary that the resources that you will be using is something um, reliable, or credible. The best sources that could give you a lot of information necessary for the development or improvement of your position paper. You could use existing, let's for example, research study or academic journals, books, articles from reputable newspapers, magazines, television stations. Another one we can also could use we can make use of encyclopedia or dictionaries. So those are the things that we can get a lot of our information to make it more credible, and then refine the argument. It means an argument is made of three elements: assertion, evidence, and explanation. So this part comprises with three elements: assertion, evidence, and explanation. Although the logic of assertion and the evidence may be clear to you, this logic may not be clear to the reader. So further explanation is often needed, such as the clarification between the link of the assertion and the evidence, how they are linked together regarding the assertion and the evidence that you have presented in your research or your position paper. So the explanation and contextualization of the evidence and its importance. So the best arguments are filled with sophistication, arguments that cannot be quickly discounted and set aside. Next, we have here prepare for the position or opposition. Sorry. So this is a position will always have negation of that same position. Take note of the word negation. So it means it refers to or it gives the hint or the idea of having the opposition, right? So when doing your research, it's imperative to read what the opposition has to say in order to refute them in your position paper. Just like when you're doing the debate, right? So when you're doing the debate, um, you have to make an opposition regarding the statement given by your opponents. Same with your when you are writing a position paper. So that is a form of negation of the same position. So the thing is, you have to list down some of the strongest points, refute each point. So this can be done by finding flaws of their arguments. So therefore, the refutation is not mere summary of the opposition arguments. Instead, it is a way to go against the arguments of the opposition. So the greatest mistake that one can do to refutation is to seem like one is agreeing wholeheartedly with the opposition without arguing against them, right? So just like what I said, when you are having the debate, so you have to cross the house, which means that you have to cross from your position into arguing the position of the enemy. And then, so after all, right, the position paper. So everything that has been said prior is all about planning of the position paper. So upon writing the position paper entails using all of her persuasive skills. When we talk about persuasive skills, that's about your convincing power um, to address to your reader. So once you know your theme and the arguments, you you are about to forward, it will be much easier to choose what kind of introduction you can use for your position paper. So you may begin with startling fact or personal experience or an anecdote, something like that. So that is also the time that wherein you can write your own conclusion. So those are the things that you have to remember when you are crafting your own position paper. I think that would be all. This is just an example presented. An example of the position paper wherein you can see there is. So you can see here on top the introduction. So it gives what? It gives an overview of what the topic is all about. The topic is globalization and development. And these two paragraph, this is sort of the body of the position paper, then followed by the conclusion. So those are the things that you have to remember when you're writing a position paper. So I think that would be all. I hope you learned something.